Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel, and welcome back to me, because my wife and I just got back from Alaska yesterday and completed our 18th season, or my 18th season, working at the Burghoff Wilderness Lodge. I've been working up there for half my life now. The night I graduated high school, I flew up there for my first season, and man, haven't looked back since. So it was a great time. Got to reconnect with our good friends up there in a beautiful location, part of the world that I really love, and got to meet some new great clients. So really stoked on the year. It was a little bit uncomfortable, a little bit painful. As you can hear, I'm still a little bit sick. Even before I left, I posted videos, and I was pretty nasally, and for some reason that illness just ended up getting worse and turned into probably like bronchitis or something, and I'm still to this day getting over it right now. And I ended up throwing up my back, so it was like, it was a little uncomfortable and painful this season, but still a great season nonetheless. But anyways, now we're back, and I was kind of taking stock and looking at the videos that I posted and how they did, and I was surprised because a lot of the videos that I thought were going to do really well just were kind of mediocre as far as the viewership and all that. And then some of the videos that I thought were a little bit more benign did really well. And one of those videos that really surprised me as far as the response to it was a video I did on how to color, the techniques that I use to color braided line. So braided line is known to end up fading. It doesn't hold its color for very long, or as long as the braid is still functional. It doesn't tend to hold that coloration for very long. So a lot of people, including myself, like to color the braid for certain situations to make it a little bit more camouflaged and a little less visible to the fish. Now, yes, the title to that video, it's saying how to make braided line invisible to fish, a little bit misleading, because the fish obviously can still see braided line because it's not a transparent line. It's not invisible like a fluorocarbon line is. And even fluorocarbon isn't 100% invisible. It just has the same refractive light quality as water. So light tends to pass through fluorocarbon line as opposed to bounce off of it and give that kind of shine. But anyways, we're getting off topic. So what was surprising was the comments that were so polarizing on that video. I'm not saying any of the comments were bad or anything like that, but there was a lot of people saying, that this is ridiculous. Fish don't care if the line is bright pink, bubblegum pink, or black. The fish don't care. And then other people were saying that they really did agree that that line color does matter. So lots of people on both sides of the spectrum. So I didn't expect to hit a nerve with that video, but since I did, I wanted to kind of do a follow-up video and kind of explain my experience with the color of braid and what situations I really do think it matters. Because those people that say that the line color doesn't matter, you're right, but you're also wrong, in my opinion. And that's one of the frustrating things about, and one of the beautiful things about fishing, is that there's a lot of ways that you can go about it. There's no real hard set rules in fishing that apply 100% of the time. All right, so first off, I want to say that I definitely agree with some of the sentiment that was that people shared with me in the comments section, that braided line color does not matter. There are absolutely situations I've been in where the color of the braid is such a minimal factor that I don't necessarily see a difference in the catch rate. Now, there probably is a slight difference, but there are definitely certain situations where that factor does not matter as much. So I will say that. But what I'm going to follow up with is that as a professional fisherman, or somebody that is going out there and they want to maximize your catch, the color of the braid is just one of those minute little details, those little customizations that I do along with many other professional anglers, and we do it because we do believe that it makes a big difference. And I've seen situations where it makes a huge difference. Now, one thing I will bring up, it's not an apples to apples comparison, but you wouldn't tell a hunter that camo pattern doesn't matter, because it really does. Now, if you're hunting in a location where the animals are not, are not hunted on a regular basis, and they are comfortable in the environment, and they're not really as aware or cautious, maybe the camo patterns don't matter. I'm not a longtime hunter. I'm actually new to the sport, but what I do know is that camo does matter. You don't necessarily need to match all the different types of camo, but just wearing, a regular button-up shirt in the woods is going to get you made pretty quick. But so the same thing goes for fishing, I believe. I don't think that we give bass enough credit sometimes. Sometimes we give them too much credit, and other times I don't think we give them enough. But there are two situations that I really think that the color of your line, or even your line size, makes a big difference. Number one is high pressure situations. I'm not talking about barometric pressure. I'm talking about the amount of fishing pressure out there on a body of water. On Lake Chickamauga, for instance, there are a ton of people fishing there all the time. Guntersville is the same. Lake Okeechobee is the same. Those fisheries see such a tremendous amount of pressure that the little tiny things that you do to give yourself an edge matter a great deal. Now, if you're going to a place that maybe doesn't have that much pressure, obviously people fish there, but they're not out there en masse all the time. Those little details become very, very unimportant. I was just up at the lake that I learned how to bass fish when I was little. Very little fishing pressure, and I could pretty much throw a Superman toy with a treble hook glued onto it, and I'd probably catch some bass if I worked it the right way. I'm just saying that those fish do not care. In fact, the first fish I remember catching up there, I caught on this stupid looking bath toy looking thing that when I casted it out, the string would pull out of the nose and these two little frog legs would clap together, on the back. I ended up catching a smallmouth off of that. Try doing that on some of these high pressured lakes. But the point is that when fish are pressured, they get more and more skeptical of every single presentation that's put in front of their face. One other thing that I need to mention before we go any further is that the primarily the situation where I'm coloring my braid to get it to a darker color, usually black, it is for flipping and pitching and punching purposes. Okay, so anytime I'm making those short pitches into heavy cover, I don't want a bright colored braid to be underneath that shadowy environment. I want that braid to kind of blend in with the shadowy environment that those fish are in. So that's the reason why I'm generally going to be coloring the line black. Now for fast moving baits that I'm using with braid, if I'm throwing like a diesel minnows over grass flat or a turbo fatty, something like that, something that I'm keeping moving, I don't think it matters in the least for the most part. I'll still probably color it a little bit in case I need to let that bait kind of dead stick into a little hole in the grass or something like that. But in general, those fish don't have enough time to respond to that and to really be skeptical of the line size. But when you're flipping and pitching in cover, sometimes those bites don't come until you've worked that bait underneath the cover for a long period of time. Now, if they're hitting it as soon as it goes underneath the surface, underneath that mat, then they probably don't care about the line coloration. But if it's a situation where you have to really work that bait underneath that grass mat, which I've seen that situation a lot, you need to give yourself every edge possible. And I really think that coloring your braid to a darker color that matches the shadowy environment is going to give you that edge that you're looking for. So fishing and pressure is a really, really big one. And the second factor is water clarity, and I think that both of these go hand in hand, because you know the water clarity is going to allow those fish to really you know, look at every little detail of the presentation and also the tackle used, and I think in real clear water that is a really big deal. However, you know, if those fish aren't pressured, I think that the fishing pressure is the number one thing, because if they're constantly being, you know, targeted, they get more and more cautious as time goes on, and water clarity plays into that even more. So the clearer the water, and when you're dealing with pressured fish, the more likely those small little details, such as coloring your braided line, make a big difference. So those are just my thoughts on this. I will absolutely continue to do it, because I mean, I've made a good living with a flipping stick in my hand using you know, 65-pound braid, and coloring the braid has always made a big difference when the fishing is very tough. And you know, I've heard the same type of response from, you know, people that think that sound may not make a difference to fish. You know, like a trolling motor going through grass, that might not make a difference. I again disagree and also agree. Sometimes it matters, sometimes it doesn't matter. But those times that it does matter is when you want to start thinking about those little tiny details, maybe being a little bit quieter, maybe making your line a little bit more invisible to the fish. I don't know. But my job is to maximize every opportunity that I've got out there on the water and catch every fish that I possibly can. And I really do think that coloring my braid for mostly flipping, pitching, and punching situations is an edge that I can use to catch more fish. But anyways, I want to hear your opinions on this continued topic, and I really appreciate every single person who has commented on these posts. And also, again, I'm starting to do a lot more videos on answering questions that you guys post. So make sure you use that comment section. If you have any questions about this topic or another topic that you might want me to do a video on, you know, just drop your question below and I will read it, I promise. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure you like, share, subscribe. I'm going to see you out on the water.